Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And today, President Trump welcomed El Salvador President Nayib Bukele to the Oval Office, where they discussed joint efforts to keep the Americas safe. Watch.
Are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous. Not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart.
And beyond the issue of immigration and border security, the leaders also discussed economic growth and standing up to Chinese infiltration. Here's the vice president laying out just what's at stake. Take a look.
We have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran explicitly on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market, but I actually think over the long term, workers are going to benefit, stocks are going to go up, American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country.
It was great to watch. And over the weekend, President Trump never stopped working, even taking questions from the media on Air Force One at 2 a.m. in the morning. I've seen it happen before, believe me. After attending the UFC fight in Miami. Watch.
You people requested. I'm always available, unlike Biden. Think Biden would do an interview at 2 in the morning? He would do one at 9 in the morning.
How did you enjoy the fight?
I thought it was great. I thought they were all great. Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever witnessed that? First time, right?
Yeah. Five.
Those are seriously tough people.
And he got a huge welcome there from the crowd at the UFC. But meanwhile, Democrats continue to find themselves in more and more complete disarray. And that includes disgraced New York Attorney General Leticia James, who now appears to have her own legal problems relating to allegations of mortgage fraud, lying about her residency, in addition to mounting red flags surrounding her campaign finance. And joining me now for a reaction to this and so much more, host of the Stone Zone, WABC radio host, iconic political strategist, the author of Stone's Rules, the one and only Roger Stone. Thank you so much for being with me today. Oh, Roger, I think you're muted, honey. We get it?
Yep.
I got you.
Pick it up from there.
All right,
Kimberly,
perfect.
It's always great to be with you.
Thank you. I was looking forward to this today. They always know it cheers me up, makes me super psyched when they say, we got Roger Stone, right? It's just like in the movies, they say, get me Roger Stone. So let's talk about our guy, President Trump. He met with President Nayib Bukele, who I absolutely love. I was there for his inauguration with Don Jr. and a bunch of our friends, and it was an incredible experience. He is so smart and intelligent. So is his wife, by the way. And what he's been able to do with these maximum security, prisons, and just working collaboratively in alliance, with the United States and President Trump. I love it. I was hoping it was going to happen. I know everyone, all these world leaders, were looking forward to Trump getting in. But Bukele is a true leader. He's a highly intelligent man who has shown the world how to effectively combat crime and secure a nation. What does this meeting tell us about the kind of, strong, decisive leadership President Trump values, especially when compared to the Biden administration's failure, abject failure, disgrace on border security and regional stability?
Well, Kimberly, like you, I'm also a big fan of President Bukele, It shows you that one man who's committed to truth and justice can change an entire country. El Salvador went from being one of the most dangerous places on the face of the earth, essentially run by the cartels and the gangs, and having a very poor quality of life for average citizens, to being one of the safest places and the most prosperous places in this hemisphere because of his brave leadership. Now, the only other place you can point this out, of course, is in Argentina, where another nationalist, another capitalist, another anti-communist, our good friend Javier Milei is president.
Yes.
In Europe, you see the efforts of the globalists to shut down this whole nationalist movement, not letting Marie Pen, who's leading the presidential polls by 10 points, trying to lock her up because they know if they let her run in the election, she'll win. Not allowing the leading candidate in Romania, who came in first in the first round, not allowing him to run. We see this across the board. Freedom is on the move. Nationalism, that's defined as loving your country, nothing wrong with it, is
Right.
on the move. And Donald Trump is the head of a global wave here. It's not just he's going to make America great, he's going to make the entire world a better place.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. And, I just love this, that we're working together, with other countries for common goals that, by the way, benefit both countries. And you're absolutely right. There's nothing wrong with being a nationalist, loving your country, fighting for your country, and trying to act in your country's best interest. If you were a CEO of a major company, you would have to do what's in the best interest of your company. So people should not be confused by this. Bukele's success often involved, tough and unconventional methods that drew criticism from globalist organizations. How important is it for leaders like President Trump and Bukele to ignore that criticism? And actually just do what's necessary to protect their citizens from dangers like illegal immigration and cartel violence?
Yeah, I think they have a lot in common. You're right. Bukele's very young. He's got a great future ahead of him, but he's really brought a sea change to his country. One of the things that I feared, to be quite honest, is that the cartels, who used to have El Salvador as a major profit center for their drug trafficking, may try to assassinate him. I pray for him every night. And when I do the rosary, there's a bead for him as well as
Yes.
for our president and his family.
Yes,
my
please
own
do.
wife, my own family. And yes, even for you, Kimberly, because
Thank you. God
I
bless
think
you.
your greatest days of public service lie ahead.
Thank
I think
you.
The president was very wise to appoint you to an
Thank you.
important ambassadorial post in a troubled spot in the world. This is not a place
Sure.
to send a career foreign service loser who doesn't support the American first agenda. This is an area of the world to appoint somebody who is a trusted advisor, someone who has the president's ear, someone who's proven their loyalty to the president. That would be, well, you.
Thank
so
you.
I think it's among his very best appointments.
Thank you.
I do think that the president this is a global revolution. People really don't understand that. The globalists are on the run. Klaus Schwab, worst impression of Henry Kissinger I've ever heard. He's announced that he's retiring. That's because these people are in trouble. But never think that the radical left, both the United States or worldwide, has given up, because they never give up. On the other hand, you have to laugh. When Adam Schiff says we need to investigate whether anybody in the Trump administration was engaged in insider trading around these entirely public tariff announcements, Senator, you can start your investigation with Nancy Pelosi. Why don't we start with her? Because
Sure.
she's done more insider trading than anybody.
Facts. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that President Trump utilizes. And we know that President Trump uses things like tariffs, okay, very boldly. How crucial is his willingness to combine strong border policies, with aggressive economic measures like tariffs to truly counter the threat of the CCP and what they pose, as a threat to the Americas?
Well, look, I don't think the truth is secretly the president doesn't love tariffs. If we could have zero tariffs from us and zero tariffs from our trading partners, that would be the best of all worlds. But he does like using tariffs as a cudgel to beat those who have cheated us in the past and with whom we have an unequal trade agreements. He's been saying this all the way back to 1988. Pre-NAFTA, he was talking about this. Pre-GATT, he was talking about this. I remember in New Hampshire, on a trip we made in 1988, he said, when it comes to these trade negotiations, they send killers. They send their smartest people we send social workers. He's absolutely right.
He
And
is.
this one size fits all trading philosophy of the Bushes, of the Clintons, of the Obamas, of the Bidens hasn't worked to the benefit of America. It's destroyed the middle class, has destroyed our manufacturing base here in America. In the first term, you remember this, Kimberly, Barack Obama made fun of the president saying, what do you do, Donald? Wave a magic wand and bring these manufacturing jobs back to America?
Yeah.
Fact, 635,000 new manufacturing jobs in Trump's first term. That will be dwarfed by what he's going to do in this term. But the president knows that it's not all about tariffs. That's just like one leg of a three-legged stool. We have to renew the across-the-board Trump tax cuts by January. No, they're not tax cuts for the rich. They are tax cuts on every American. And when I see people like Robert Reich, the former labor secretary for Bill Clinton, I've had it up to here with this guy.
Right.
I went to high school with him. He was a jerk then. He's a jerk now. I see him on X saying
Like a soap opera.
deficits and the inflations are caused by the tax cuts. No, actually, revenues went up under the Trump tax cuts, under the Reagan tax cuts, under the John Kennedy tax cuts. A rising tide lifts all boats. So we
true.
have to have the tax cuts renewed. And by the way, Kimberly, if you oppose them, that means you're supporting the greatest single increase in tax history in this country. And then lastly, Elon Musk has really shown the way here and shown the epic waste in our federal spending. Not millions, not billions, trillions of our tax dollars flying out the door to God knows where. Some places you can't even tell. We have to have real significant spending cuts. If you have those three things, an evil playing field when it comes to tariffs, tax reduction on all Americans, and cut federal spending, our inflation will be zero, and we will have the greatest economy in our history. Trump has the magic formula, and he has the courage to see it through. These lemmings are screaming about the stock market. All I know is this. When I went to the grocery store on Sunday and bought a dozen eggs, it was $5.50. The last time I bought eggs was under Biden. It was $8.90. Gas prices are down. The inflation rate is down. Energy prices are down. Food prices are down. No, I think the golden age is just beginning.
And I think you're absolutely right about that. And you just can't argue with the cold, hard facts, okay? So I don't know anybody that wants to pay more for gas or more for eggs, okay? I mean, leave them chickens alone. Here's the deal. I want to talk about Leticia James because this woman frustrates me. But this is really ironic. I mean, the irony is stunning. After her politically motivated witch hunt against our friend, our great President Trump, she's now facing serious allegations herself about potential mortgage fraud, Roger, residency issues, and campaign finance irregularities. I want to hear this from your perspective. How damaging is this level of hypocrisy? And does it, actually once and for all expose the purely political nature of these very vicious attacks against President Trump?
Well, you'll remember, Kimberly, it was New York Attorney General Leticia James who said no one was above the law. Unfortunately for her, that includes her. What we have here is not just one incidence of mortgage fraud, but serial mortgage fraud.
Yeah.
So in the very first mortgage she ever got, she used her father's balance sheet and financials to obtain the mortgage. She did that by claiming that her father was her husband. So on the mortgage, they're listed as man and wife, but on the title for the property, they're correctly listed as father and daughter. Then she got a federal HAMP loan, a federal loan specifically designed for investment properties. But in order to qualify, it has to be a rental unit and it has to have at least 5 units. Her application says it does. But when we checked, it only has 4 units. Another instance of mortgage fraud. She has a couple of mortgages that never show up on her financial disclosures in New York at all. That's a violation of the law. But the newest thing we have learned is stunning. Just days before President Trump's trial in New York, she signed a power of attorney in connection with a mortgage for a property in Virginia. And in order to secure the mortgage, she said that it would be her principal residence and she would move there within 60 days. Well, the problem with that is if that happened, she would be ineligible to be New York Attorney General. And the way the law actually works in New York is if you move, the office is automatically vacated. There's not even a hearing. So she either moved, in which case she's not eligible, but she didn't move, and we know that. Therefore, she lied in order to secure the mortgage. Either way, it is a federal crime. By the way, other officials, public officials, have been prosecuted for this in the past. One Democrat in Maryland actually went to jail for it. So I think all of these lawsuits by her. I saw her speaking to a rally the other day for Al Sharpton's National Action Network, and she said, "I ain't afraid of no Donald Trump." You went to Howard University. Why are you talking like a ghetto rat? Why don't
No,
you
it's
speak
so
English?
insane. So crazy.
It really is disgraceful.
It really is. And imagine if it was anybody else, if that was Trump who was the AG pulling this nonsense, pretending to be both like a Virginia resident and New York AG, they'd have him thrown out of there so fast, like everyone's head would spin. She can't square that circle. Okay. So what does it all mean going forward? Because I'm tired of this. I want justice.
Well, I think that remains to be seen. I mean, there's a couple of different pieces here, but this most recent one I think is the most problematic. There are other issues here. Looks to me like she has used state money, state funds to charter aircrafts for campaign events. Then you see, pardon me, her taking a state aircraft to Martha's Vineyard on the same day that her campaign pays for a beachfront rental for her. So it appears to me like she's vacationing on the taxpayer. That's
what
a
it
serious
looks like.
problem. You got income tax issues there, for example. So look, I hope the Federal Home Finance Administration, I think that's a proper agency, is going to investigate this. And if they confirm all of the things we have seen in the media, where at whitecollarfraud.com, you can find all these actual document links are posted. Pardon me. That would be referred to the Justice Department. And if we, in fact, have a one-tier justice system, we recalibrate the system of justice in this country, well, then she should be prosecuted. We shall see.
I don't disagree, but there's multiple fronts there. That's the interesting part to me. And by the way, it just shows just the flagrant disregard for the law that this woman is just so morally repulsive in the way she behaves and ethically dishonest. But what do you think? What kind of fallout do you predict for her and the Democrat machine in New York? Because it's not going well. Could this be the start, I hope, of the tables turning on those who weaponize the justice system against President Trump?
Well, it's very interesting. As you know, the president had appointed Elise Stefanik to be UN ambassador. And then looking at the prospects in that special election in upstate New York, we're in this place where it's very dangerous in America in these special elections. Democrats are angry and they're highly motivated because they see Donald Trump undoing all the failed policies of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Unfortunately for us, Kimberly, Republicans are fat and happy. They think, oh, well, all the world's problems have been solved because Donald Trump was elected. So they're not motivated to win, to vote in these special elections. But interestingly enough, I think I like Elise Stefanik. I think it was a great appointment. But she's put her ambitions aside for the greater good of the country. President withdrew her nomination, so that seat is not at risk. Now, we'll win that seat in a general election without any question, but it would have been at risk in the special election. The most interesting thing I saw in the polling, however, was the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. She is literally the most unpopular politician in the country. I've never seen a 79% disapproval rating in the 50 years I've been in American politics.
If the shoe fits.
I actually think that we may be at that epic point in which even New York State could go red. Once taxes and crime and the ubiquitous nature of marijuana, which you seem to smell any place you go in New York City, people get fed up with it. People, I think, are done with these failed policies. I think if we nominated the right candidate, somebody like Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, I think would be an excellent candidate for governor, for example. I think New York could go red.
I hope so. I think you're totally right. I mean, keep in mind, Lee Zeldin did very well in terms of his performance. And so, I think where the scales are tipping in favor of Republicans getting in. And like you said, Bruce Blakeman would be excellent. We need somebody strong that's a formidable candidate to be able to go in there and take New York. I mean, look, it has a special place in my heart. It's one of the states that I lived in and had a child in and raised him for many years. So, at least I see already, I'll tell you this, a big change in New York since President Trump has come in, and he's gotten rid of everybody, all the illegals sleeping on the streets, everything that's going on. The crime is down there. And it just shows, with leadership, everything is possible. And in a, vacuum without leadership, it's complete chaos.
Well, look, I don't think this is a partisan issue. I think we have to be very honest about it. Shocking news in the last 3 days that Governor Ron DeSantis and his wife diverted $10 million from Medicaid and moved it to a political slush fund to be used for political purposes in a constitutional amendment campaign. In other words, they took money that was meant for poor people, disabled people, the elderly, for health care, and they used it for political purposes. This is a very serious problem and a scandal. The Republicans in the state legislature, to their credit, putting partisanship aside, insisting we get to the bottom of it. But I think this is as egregious a scandal, as outrageous a scandal as the scandal involving Leticia James and her mortgage fraud.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. That is for sure. And I appreciate your honesty because, breaking the law is breaking the law. And so it's like you said, shouldn't fall on partisan lines. You got to just tell it like it is. I want to go a little deeper into the New York AG's office, okay? Who are the other enablers and bad actors?
Well, you've got a number of factors here. So I think there's two other areas that really need to be looked at. One is the financing of her campaigns. I think we need to examine the millions of dollars that came into her campaign through Act Blue. Act Blue is the Democrat payment processing company. They turn off the credit card confirmation where you check the address against the cardholder's name. And what we're finding, doing a huge amount of research with a lot of legwork, is many of her donors have never heard of her and did not give the serial contributions to her campaign. More widespread fraud by Leticia James. And then there are at least 3 allegations of sexual assault of women by her chief of staff, one of whom brought a lawsuit against both Leticia James and the chief of staff. And that was very quietly dismissed by the New York courts about 3 weeks ago, as far as Leticia James is concerned. So they let the lawsuit go forward, but they said she had no responsibility for it. These areas all need to be closely examined because she has been a hypocrite. The most important thing to understand about the mortgage fraud is that she has inflated the value of her assets to get these mortgages.
That's
In other
very
words,
bad.
she did exactly what she falsely accused President Trump of doing in the so-called valuations case.
Unbelievable. On that worthless Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, okay. It's just unbelievable. All right, so this sounds like we need a full-blown federal investigation into all this. Who are the key agencies or departments at this point? Does some of it have to get separated out so that we can get to the bottom of this, get to the truth?
Well, I think I looked this up. The Federal Home Finance Administration has the authority to investigate mortgage fraud. That's what they do, and refer those who are responsible. Then we go to Pam Bondi. We go to the U.S. Justice Department. There are also state crimes here, though. So, for example, the use of the state airplane or, state chartered aircraft. By the way, no invoice, no flight plan, no information, but they all seem to coincide with her campaign events. So will anybody in New York step forward and hold her accountable? Remains to be seen. There are multiple state crimes there between the financing of her campaigns and her misuse of state funds, but it's New York State. And Democrats, as you know, tend to look the other way when they're engaged in crime.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Someone who doesn't look the other way takes everything, head on. I've been on the planes with him when he's taking questions from the press and he's working all these hours, which is incredible. President Trump, taking media questions literally in the middle of the night. And that's the president walking into UFC where he got a massive reception. There was Dana White and his grandkids. There's Kai and Spencer and Donnie. Very cool. So that was a great fight the other night. And he just, is on the plane, and then it's 2 a.m. and he's no problem. He's like, yeah, I'll answer your questions. And he was funny because he goes, oh yeah, Biden couldn't answer these questions at 2 a.m. He goes, he couldn't even answer them at 9 a.m. Facts. Tough but fair. He's just got unbelievable stamina. And how significant is this, kind of relentless energy and, work ethic and transparency, quite frankly, compared to Joe Biden's record? And, what kind of message does it send to Americans about President Trump's commitment?
Kimberly, it's incredible. I saw the president at dinner Friday night at Mar-a-Lago. He was in a great mood. He looks great, by the way. He's lost a little
Doesn't
weight.
he?
Yeah, he looks amazing. He was in a great mood. He was very funny, but you can just see the underlying confidence there. And then I saw him again the next morning at the Trump International Golf Club in Palm Beach, because my friend Anthony Constantino presented this 20-foot tall bronze statue of the president as a gift. It was a great morning, but I was exhausted because we were up late Tuesday night or Friday night and had to get up early for breakfast for the next day. He looked like $1 million. Then he went out and played 18 holes of golf. I drove to Naples to speak to the Collier County Lincoln Reagan Trump dinner. By the end of the dinner, I was exhausted. And then I looked on the phone and he was still posting on True Social at 1:30 in the morning. Oh, yeah. The man is a force of nature. There's no other way to describe it. I don't know if he ever sleeps. If he does, it has to be for a couple of hours.
Sometimes it's like 3 hours, energy, maybe,
incredible stamina, and I think a huge amount of courage. Because I can honestly say, during the whole tsunami of lawfare against him, when I would talk to him sometimes late at night, there are many times when he was angry, but there was not a single time that he was discouraged. There's not a single time that he thought that he would not prevail in the end. So his comeback victory is not just the greatest comeback election victory in our history. Pardon me. It's a testimony to his personal resilience, to his personal stamina, to his personal persistence, to his stamina, his courage, his strength. He really is the most unique individual I've ever met in American politics. And he's broken all of the rules. As you know, until he was president, all of our presidents have been senators or governors or congressmen or generals. All of our candidates spent millions of dollars on network television advertising to get elected. People don't know this, but Jeb Bush and his cronies spent $100 million attacking Donald Trump in 2016. And you know what? It didn't work. So he's a phenomena. I think he was going to go down in history as one of our greatest presidents, but now I have no doubt about it. He will be the most transformational president in our lifetime.
You're absolutely right. And, looking at the big picture, Roger, we're getting closer to the first 100 days. How do you sum up these almost 100 days? And what are Stone's rules for the president, over the next 100? I mean, can you imagine how much has happened, transpired in just such a short period of time?
Yeah, I think the most important rule, of course, is that you should never quit. In other words, we all know that there have been all these Wall Street CEOs and even some Republicans who have quietly tried to tell him he needs to back down on his insistence of using tariffs to force our trading partners into a better deal. They don't know Donald Trump. They don't understand Donald Trump. He will never back down from a fight, particularly a fight when he knows that he's right. There are even some Republicans who've tried to tell him that he's made a terrible mistake in endorsing Byron Donalds for governor. He's wrong about that too. Byron Donalds is exactly the right guy to be governor, particularly given this new scandal involving Ron and Casey DeSantis. And they're taking $10 million from Medicaid and spending it for a political slush fund.
Byron will do a great job.
Trump will never back down. He will never give up. He loves the fight. He's happier than he's ever been. He's at best in adversity. He's at best in the fight. And I think it really energizes him. So I've never seen him in a better mood, and I've never been more optimistic about the future of the country.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I totally concur. He's doing a great job, and I just absolutely love what we're doing with the border and with immigration. My passion, in life, one of them has been as a prosecutor, public servant, and combating crime and violence. And Nayib Bukele, president of El Salvador, talked about how El Salvador was like leading the world in homicides, okay? And he turned that all around. That's what tough, strong, smart, decisive leadership looks like. And you've seen the footage and everything of the maximum security prisons there. I just think it's so smart what he's done. And with President Trump being able to do it. And you could really just tell today in this, the meeting in the White House, that the president was just so sincere, so earnest about this, how much this issue upset him, very upset with what Biden and Obama, quite frankly, as well, allowed to happen in this country with just open borders and all of these criminals coming in, committing crimes against, law-abiding American citizens. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. That's no way to protect your country and your citizens.
Yeah, look, I agree. The good news is that I think it is in our past. The last election was more than just a personal testimony to his resilience and his resolve. What we have here is a complete political realignment in which everybody with any iota of common sense is on one side, and these globalist freaks who hate freedom, who love war, who love censorship, are on the other side. And now you see the realignment of common sense Democrats like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, Rod Blagojevich, and others. People who used to be proud Democrats realized that that party, the party of John F. Kennedy, the party of Harry Truman, the party that was anti-communist, the party that believed in capitalism and free enterprise, that party's been taken over by a bunch of socialist weirdos with their woke agenda. They won't stand up for Israel. They won't stand up for peace. They defend the erosion of our civil liberties. They seem to love censorship. So look, I think this movement, this MAGA movement, of which you've been one of the key leaders, it's so much bigger than the Republican Party. It's so much bigger than Donald Trump personally. It is an unprecedented move for freedom and liberty and prosperity and safety, not just for this country, but for the world. There's something much bigger happening here. I think that will unfold as we get deeper into the administration.
I think so, and I'm looking forward to it and covering it all with you. That is until I hopefully go to serve my country as U.S. ambassador to Greece. But I'll tell you what, I'm always going to be tuning into the Stone Zone to make sure I'm staying up on everything. And again, congratulations just on the huge success of your WABC radio show as well. Everybody loves it. It's fantastic. Always look forward to it on the weekends. And just want to say thank you for joining us today, because I wanted to cover all of this with you. It's so important. Everybody tune into your show. And go ahead, Roger, tell them where they can find you, get your books, everything.
Yeah, folks can go to stonezone.com. Kimberly, the great news is my syndicated radio show is now 5 days a week at 8 o'clock Eastern, as well as 2 hours on Sunday. This is
never stop working. You're like Trump.
Yeah, it's prime time, prime radio, real estate. You can go to it no matter where you live in the country. Go to WABCradio.com, WABCradio.com at 8 o'clock Eastern every weeknight, and then on Sundays from 3 to 5. Again, at WABCradio.com. We'll see you there.
Absolutely fabulous. Roger, thank you so much, my dear friend. Be well and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. God bless, sweetheart. And my closing remarks just ahead, but also be sure to check out the 1775 Coffee Company. We talk about it all the time. Don't compromise on taste, quality, or your values. And 1775 Coffee is brewed to perfection. It is crafted with precision and built on patriotism. The farm-to-cup process means there is quality, authenticity, and sustainability from start to finish. All the beans are ethically and exclusively single-sourced. So try 1775 Coffee today. Go to 1775coffee.com/KG for 15% off your first order. And that is not all, because free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering independent voices, and to Rumble, it matters more than ever. We are excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. And it's more than a subscription. It is a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. And for a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo code KG10. So just visit rumble.com/premium/KG10 and claim your discount today. Again, that's rumble.com/premium/KG10. And in closing, consider the contrast: real leaders taking action to secure our borders and hemisphere versus the corrupt Democrat establishment enabling chaos and decay from within. President Trump understands that confronting foreign adversaries like China and cleaning house here at home are two sides of the same coin. The path forward requires confronting both foreign threats and domestic decay head on. And the fight for America's sovereignty is paramount. And it's time we start putting Main Street first. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Please be sure to download the Rumble app, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like and share, and tell all your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And please also be sure to follow me across all platforms: X, Truth Social, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay tuned to Rumble for all the latest breaking news coverage. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon. God bless.